Red Notice is apparently the most streamed film on Netflix of all time. I don't believe it's 100% confirmed, but there are certainly sources that are claiming this. So, of course, I had to check it out. Plus, I love Dwayne Johnson, so I would have watched it anyway. But I discovered this fact randomly last night when I decided to Google what was the most streamed film on Netflix of all time. And it sounded interesting. Having now watched it, I can say it's not bad. I didn't love it, but I don't understand why it's potentially the most streamed film on Netflix. This was released in 2021. It's directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, written by Thurber, and we also have a cast including Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, Gadot. Okay, so maybe the cast is one of the reasons why it's the most streamed, or potentially most streamed film, because the narrative is just... it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not that spectacular. Johnson plays an Interpol agent, and he manages to track down this thief, this art thief, and he might be able to use his help to get another thief. But not everything is as it seems, and there's a bit more substance to the narrative. There's definitely quite a well-written story, I have to say. On paper, it reads really well. There's a lot of substance, there's a lot happening, but it's not too busy. Pretty much everything that happens serves a purpose, it has a place in the film. So I don't think the narrative is badly written. I think the reason I didn't love it, I think the characters are really boring, which is a shame because usually Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds play absolutely brilliant characters. But I just found them to be really dull. And I didn't really care for them interacting with each other either. Again, it wasn't necessarily badly done. I just feel like it wasn't anywhere near as interesting as I expected it to be. So the narrative is fine, but I didn't find it to be that exciting. I wasn't really emotionally invested in the story, and the characters are kind of dull. And that's unusual for characters played by these actors. The performances were fine, absolutely no issues there. But I just found very little of this to be engaging or exciting. There was one moment that I really thoroughly enjoyed, but it is a spoiler and I'll talk about it at the end. It's a very brief moment, but I want to give credit where it's due. It's supposed to be an action comedy, and I don't really see the comedy. Or the action, for that matter. There is action, and I guess there is humour, but neither are that strong. So for me, it's just a pretty average film, and I really don't understand what all of the fuss is about, if it is true that it is potentially the most streamed film on Netflix. In fact, I've just looked into it again, and according to Netflix's own website, it has a website called, how do I pronounce this? Tudum? Tudum, by Netflix, and Red Notice is apparently the top film of all time, with 230 million, more than 230 million views. That's incredible. The second top film is Carry On with over 172 million, and Don't Look Up with 171 million. We then have The Adam Project at 157 million, which is a pretty interesting film. So do I need to now go and watch the second film? Do I need to watch all of these that I haven't seen? Maybe I will, but certainly I'd say check out Red Notice and come to your own conclusions. You might enjoy it, maybe not. I thought it was an okay experience. Had I not gone into it knowing that it was the top streamed Netflix film of all time, my hopes might not have been as high, and I might have had an okay experience. And I guess I did have an okay experience, but I was expecting more from the comedy, more from the narrative. I was expecting a stronger emotional response, whether that was glee or whatever I was feeling. But I just felt a little bit, not bored necessarily, but I just wasn't engaged in it. And as I said, the characters were not that interesting. So it's fine. It's okay. I don't understand why it's the most streamed film on Netflix, but I'd say check it out and come to your own opinion and see if you think maybe it deserves that spot. As I said, maybe the cast has something to do with it. The performances were good, but the characters, not the most interesting. And I will now tell you the one bit that actually I really, really did like, and I did have maybe a small emotional response to this. This is a spoiler for something that happens later on, and it's when Hartley and Booth find they're rummaging on the ground, and they find this entrance, and they open up this entrance from the ground, and we just see the top of the staircase and there's the mystery, of course, of what lies beneath. And it was a great moment. I kind of gasped. It was beautiful. So credit where it's due. I guess there were a couple of small moments here and there, but in general, I didn't find it to be that interesting. But I guess Red Notice was okay.